It was April 2006, and I looked at my diary and I realised that I did not have a single weekend free until September. Now, much of the reason for this was all the pomp and circumstance surrounding this summer's 4 weddings. And the funeral? That was the imminent death of my 4-year relationship. You see, it had been going south for a long time, but I was doing everything in my power to ignore it. And a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine just kept saying to me over and over again, "But are you happy? But are you happy? But are you happy?" Now, she had nothing against him, but as this summer's first bride-to-be, she had skin in the game. You see, she had numbers to confirm, and my messing around was messing up her seating plan. And so I had to do the dutiful bridesmaid thing and make my mind up. I had to admit, no, I was not happy. And so I embarked on this summer of weddings and love, newly single. And in true newly single form, I spent a lot of the next few weeks in the gym and with mud wraps and juice cleanses, trying to get rid of the extra 5 pounds of relationship misery that I'd gained since the last bridesmaid's dress fitting. And I even managed to get myself a spray tan, which I'd never done before, and it had an unfortunate side effect that I didn't realise of making me smell of bacon. So the big day came, and the hairdresser spent absolutely hours straightening my hair just so that she could curl it up again in the way that suited her better. And Caroline fulfilled a long-held dream of pinning me in the corner at the mercy of a makeup artist. And each of her Persian aunts would come into the preparation room and marvel at the glory of the artistry of this makeup artist, and then follow it up with, "Oh, darling, I really wish that you would wear makeup more often. It really does suit you." You see, Caroline's wedding was an absolutely glorious and grand and fancy affair. When we got to the church, it was the sort of church that is a London landmark, and so they were surrounded by tourists outside taking pictures of us as we were getting ready to go down the aisle. And Caroline was absolutely happy and absolutely beautiful, and I was feeling deeply uncomfortable and really not beautiful. And this was somewhat exacerbated by my mother, who turned up late and a little bit tipsy, and took one look at me just before we went down the aisle and said, "Good God, Rebecca, you look like a transvestite." So I certainly didn't feel like myself, and apparently I didn't look like myself. The second wedding of that summer, I had got my timing of the fake tans down, so I did not arrive smelling of bacon, which was progress. But I did show up alone, armed only with my 4-inch heels. It was the wedding was held in this wonderful Georgian pub, a sophisticated Georgian pub in London's very trendy, achingly trendy Clerkenwell district. And I was enjoying lots of chatter with sort of fascinating and fun chatter with journalists and creatives and champagne socialists. But there was an underlying thread that I could sense of a sort of a period drama coming through in all of this. And I was getting this kind of sense of history coming through. You see, I actually had been introduced to that crowd many moons ago by my ex, and it was becoming very clear that a large number of people in that the guests at this wedding hadn't really moved on from then, and would always, and certainly still do at that moment, regard me as the ex in the room. I didn't really enjoy feeling uncomfortable at somebody's favourite day of their life. And I suddenly thought, oh good God, I'm turning into my mother. Because one of my mother's things that she would always say is that she far more enjoyed a funeral than a wedding. She would always say, the thing is, with a funeral at least you know what you're getting, whereas with a wedding, spend the whole time thinking, God, I wonder how much they spent on this, and I wonder how long it's going to last. Fortunately, I was saved from my discomfort by the big gay dentist who took me down the cobbled alleyway, which was probably not a great idea in 4-inch heels. And we talked about our love lives, and whilst he pepped himself up with something subversive. Now, the third wedding of that summer, I admit, I don't really know why I was invited. It reminded me of a story that my friend had told me when she was younger, that she was looking through her mother's wedding photo album, and she'd said to her mother, "Who are these people?" Because she didn't recognise them, and her mother looked at them and went, "Oh, they were just somebody that we used to know." Oh. And I looked around this wedding at this extensive number of people that really represented the happy couple's vibrant social life at the time, and I thought I already knew that I was one of those people that not too far in the future was going to be somebody that they used to know. Now, the fourth wedding of the summer was an absolute pleasure. I flew out to San Jose from London. I spent the entire week with her family, and best of all, she gave me something to do. I was her executive assistant on the day, and so I was handing out checks to the band and handing out maps to the guests, which really made me sort of in my element and feel entirely comfortable. A little bit later, I was enjoying a sort of social moment in the loo with the bridal party, as you do, to take a little break from these things. And I mentioned flippantly in passing that a couple of the guests had a problem finding their way between the church and the reception. And the maid of honour barked at me to shut up with a ferocity as if I'd said, I don't know, the groom was a bit of a wanker or something. And I realised then that I had committed the ultimate sin, which is that I had told the truth to the bride. You see, what I didn't realise is those happy, happy smiles of the perfect day, what lies underneath them is this dark undercurrent of tension that something might go wrong. And that summer of 2006 taught me that there are many ways to get married, but I could not find one that suited me. And so, when I met the love of my life, shortly afterwards, a few years afterwards, who, by the way, was vehemently anti-marriage, I was actually a little bit surprised to realise that I kind of was a bit uncomfortable with the idea of not being married to him. There weren't any romantic reasons or dreams of dresses. I just wanted the legal security before we embarked on a life of adventures together. And so, we eloped to Islington, which is 2 miles down the road from where we were living. We didn't tell anyone, not even our 2 best friends, who we invited to be witnesses. They thought they were just showing up to a fancy London lunch before we left for America. And I bought the dress in an hour online with a glass of wine in my hand, watching the TV. I did my own hair on the morning, and I even pushed the boat out, put a bit of makeup on, mascara. We took photos of the day on our iPhones. In fact, some random passers-by, we asked them if they'd take the photos. And in fact, the only drama that we had on the day were that my heels were hurting a little bit. So the entire wedding party went to Boots the chemist to sort that out en route to a champagne high tea. So the entire process of that summer and all the months leading up to it made me realise that there are a number of different ways to get married, and the reason that there are a number of different ways to get married is because different things matter to people. And what mattered to me was that I had some really low-key, high-quality time with my beloved and our best friends. And even though there are other people that I would have loved to have shared that day with, I can say that on that day I was absolutely, unequivocally happy.